What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back for another podcast episode. A much needed podcast episode, by the way, especially after what happened last night. Manchester United nil, Liverpool 5 at Old Trafford. Huge win for Liverpool, by the way, historically speaking, because Liverpool and Manchester United, they're the big dogs of England. They are the biggest clubs in England, historically speaking. And so, because of that, this fixture, because of the rivalry between these two clubs, it's a huge fixture. And no matter where you are on the table, no matter your form, this game is an absolute must win for both teams. Obviously, there can only be one winner, and yesterday it was Liverpool by a landslide. Man, they walked over this United team tactically, in terms of discipline, in terms of effort, in terms of intellect. I think they were just... Manchester United were dismantled yesterday. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tactics were put on on a pedestal for everybody to see and observe and to critique. And I think, like he said, this is one of his darkest days in his career, in his whole career, in his life, maybe, who knows. But it was just sad to watch, just the way it unfolded. And no one really is surprised, if I'm being quite honest. None of us rival fans are really surprised. And I think United fans, I have a lot of United fan friends who aren't really surprised, because this has been a couple of seasons in the making, if I'm being very honest. This has been in the making for the last two and a half years, maybe. Since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was being compared with Arteta, with Frank Lampard, and his profile was being compared to that of Jose Mourinho. He came in as an interim manager. He came in to steady the ship, and he did that. He did that perfectly. He changed the culture around the club. He changed the mood around the camp. It was so much better. The United fan base was uniting again. There was hope. And it looked good. It looked good for a bit. United were playing some fairly decent football. If I'm being quite honest, it was a lot to do with individual performances, individuals using their instincts to counterattack teams. And that was pretty much how they survived for two and a half seasons. Last season, obviously, they fared quite well away. How much of that is because of the lack of fans within the stadiums? That's up to debate, but definitely that would have had an impact on them. The amount of penalties that they were awarded as well probably had an impact on them. And now we're also seeing the impact of them not receiving that many penalties as well. So, it's a lot of different things to consider when you talk about United. It's not as simple as it might sound. It's not as simple as losing 5-0 to Liverpool. Because if it was just a blip, we'd all talk about it for like another week or so, and then next time United play, we'd all forget about it. But this has been coming. Paul Scholes predicted this. As bad as Paul Scholes has been with some of his not observations, let's say, especially regarding Chelsea's defense. As bad as he's been with that, I think he's gotten this spot on with United, especially because on midweek when United played in the Champions League, and this was against Atalanta, they were 2-0 down in the first half, and they came back to win that game 3-2. Insane comeback. Huge performance from the team. Huge character to this team. A lot of personality within the squad. A lot of leaders. A lot of very strong personalities, including the likes of Ronaldo, Maguire, Bruno Fernandes, Scott McTominay. Big personalities within the squad who were very vocal. And they dug themselves out of a hole that day. But, the errors were there for everybody to see. The tactics were on show. Everybody saw them being torn apart. Everybody saw it. Defensively, look at some of the statistics this season. Tackles won in the league, total 61, and they're 20th in the league in terms of tackles won. Errors leading to shots, 8th, 20th in the league. Clean sheets, 18th in the league. They had only one clean sheet this season, and they've conceded 15 goals, 16th in the league with that. Man, those are some horrendous stats. This reminds me of Chelsea under Frank Lampard at one point in time, where we were just conceding goals every single game, and it's just not sustainable. And we saw what happened, that it was obviously a ruthless decision from the Chelsea board to get rid of Frank Lampard, which I absolutely, now maybe I've come to terms with it, but at at the time I was absolutely against it. I was almost in tears because Frank Lampard was the reason why I support Chelsea, and you guys know that. But the fact of the matter is, Frank Lampard was not the guy to take this team to the next level, and Thomas Tuchel came in and kind of proved that point to an extent, because he took the same team and he won the Champions League with them. The same team were 10th place in the league when Frank Lampard left. So sometimes it could be that change in manager could be the solution. But let's keep that aside for now, because I want to talk solely about tactics and what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has shown in terms of what his tactics are, and it was there for everyone to see yesterday, last night. Let's go. Let's pull up the lineup for a second, and let's talk about what happened for that first goal. And I think this first goal epitomizes what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's flaws are, and that is playing players in the wrong position, which I'll come to. I'll dive in a little deeper there, and the rigidness of his structure, the rigidness of his tactics, and the final thing is Man United's pressing. It's all this is Sunday league pressing, dude. From what we saw yesterday, it was really poor. It was schoolboy level, honestly. So let's look at what happened for that first goal. I'm just gonna try and move things around here on my screen. Basically for the first goal, Ronaldo doesn't press. Okay, let's just be honest. Ronaldo, he does just not press. He's never done that. There was never something that he did ever. So it's not something that we should be surprised about. But Ronaldo, so he's kind of like a liability in a defensive formation or a defensive structure. So Fernandes has come out, and that is what we call a trigger, by the way. When as soon as one of the players start pressing, that's a trigger for other players to start moving into position. So ideally, what would have happened is, if the ball was with Van Dijk, which it was with Van Dijk, and Fernandes came out to press him from midfield, from his number 10 spot here. So he's covering Henderson. Automatically, McTominay needs to cover Milner. Fred needs to cover Keita. One of the centre backs need to come out. Lindelof or Maguire need to come out and mark Firmino. Salah needs to get on. Shaw needs to get on Salah, and Greenwood needs to press on Robertson. And that's something that needs to follow. Each one needs to follow as soon as Fernandes starts that trigger. But that didn't happen at all, right? It's something weird happened. Let me just continue. So Fernandes comes and blocks that passing into Henderson. Van Dijk has the ball, and Greenwood, for some reason, is cutting the passing into Milner, which is super strange. Either this could mean two things. Greenwood is absolutely clueless when it comes to pressing, which is the unlikelier option, or he's just tactically set up to do that. He used instructor to do that. But if you're playing for Manchester United at such a high level, I do not think that Greenwood is someone good who's probably gonna be tactically inept. He's probably gonna have some kind of idea tactically of what he should be doing and how he should be pressing. And for him to be in this kind of weird spot, cutting the lane to Milner, is kind of weird. So Van Dijk then has an easy option because Robertson has all the space in the world on this left flank. He receives the ball. Greenwood is taken out. Fernandes is taken out. Milner is in all kinds of space in the middle. Now Wan-Bissaka is forced to come out, press him. Jota then moves into Wan-Bissaka's right back position. Lindelof then moves to follow him. Firmino drops in center, even more to the left hand side. Maguire follows. Salah drops in centrally. Shaw follows. So Shaw and Maguire become the centre backs essentially, and there's no left back because Rashford is not pressing. Rashford does not press as much as often as he should. And Fred, I don't know. Fred, I think, is here because Arnold is quite high up, and so Keita has basically got he's got this whole pathway to a one-on-one chance with David De Gea, and that is exactly what happens. Robertson releases to Jota. Robertson releases to Jota to Firmino to Salah, and then Salah gets pressed by Shaw and finds an easy pass to Keita. Boom, 1-0 Liverpool. And that's basically how the first goal went down. And unfortunate, but that's what United's tactics were. It was just abysmal to see the pressing from the front that didn't work out well. It didn't, if it wasn't effective enough, and it was just like a domino effect all through the team, and United suffered greatly. And the second goal, very similar, very similar goal. If the first goal was like a right hand to the head, the second goal was another right hand to the head disguised as a right hand to the body. And United flinched. And got caught, man. They got caught lacking for that second goal. Let's look at what happened with the second goal. Let's just go back to the original formation here. 1 second. Right. So at this point for the second goal, there was a slight personnel change, in the sense Ole Gunnar Solskjaer tried to make some adaptations. And what happened was Fernandes stayed in that number 10 spot and pressed Henderson instead of pressing Van Dijk, and Greenwood pressed Van Dijk. And so, however, this press was as if you're a winger pressing a centre back, you want to make a curved run so that you can cut out this pass from Van Dijk to Robertson. But Greenwood was super unsuccessful with that, and oftentimes he was way too central to intercept anything. Van Dijk found Robertson with ease. At this point, Milner has gone off. He's gone off because of an injury, and so this is actually Curtis Jones, not Milner. So that's Jones there. And Jones has a very vital role in this goal as well. Wan-Bissaka, instead of coming out and pressing Robertson and getting caught out and risking, screwing up the defensive structure at the back, McTominay then has to come and press him, because Greenwood's already out. So now Jones is completely free in this massive space right in front of in the back four. Jota then pulls out Wan-Bissaka, right? Wan-Bissaka is very busy with him, and then Jones has an easy run right behind here, pulling out Lindelof into a very weird position, almost as a left back right back, not left back, almost in a right centre back role. And Firmino again pulls out Van Dijk, Salah pulls out Shaw. And Fred is trying to mark either Arnold, or is trying to in between Arnold and Keita, because Rashford is in no man's land again. And Robertson, he finds himself running into the space here. From here, he finds Firmino, tries to find Firmino, and Maguire and Shaw get into each other's way. Salah then has all the room in the world. He gets the pass here and finishes it for 2-0 for 2-0 in under 15 minutes. Boom. It's just demolition. Tactical demolition, man. This is super poor from a United point of view. And man, so this clearly comes down to coaching, very clearly. The pundits, I've heard them talk about this. And none of them want to complete the thought. They're all saying, I'm not one to call for a sack. I'm not one to say that this so-and-so manager needs to go, this, that, and the other. But what they are saying, that he's not good enough, that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is being tactically outclassed by most managers in this league, and is just not good enough for the standard of Manchester United. And they just don't want to complete the thought and say that he's not good enough for Manchester United, and so he must go. They're just not ready to say that, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to take responsibility for what I'm saying, for my opinion. And I think he needs to go. It's as simple as that. There's no, I'm not getting anything from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer leaving. Maybe I'm getting, maybe if he faced this current Manchester United team, if Chelsea faces current Manchester United team, we would absolutely demolish them. And maybe a new manager would, improve this team, maybe. And so maybe it's a good thing. And I think for a lot of rival fans, we want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to stay at this team, and maybe that should be your first clue. If you're the Glazers, if your rival fans want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to stay, that's a problem, because he's doing them a favor clearly by being tactically rigid and not being able to adapt every 2-3 days per game like the best managers in the world do. Klopp does it, Pep does it, Tuchel does it. Every single game it's a different lineup, it's a different adaptation, different tactical setup with different instructions. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has shown that he relies too much on moments, he relies too much on individual performances, on individual brilliance, moments FC, and it is what it is, man. And he's not able to tactically find a way to positionally improve some of the players in this pitch. And one of those players is Scott McTominay. I have to mention this because Scott McTominay, time and time again, is as good as he is. He's a good player. He's a good footballer. And I think in the right position, in the right team, with the right players, I think he would do exceptionally well. But with this Manchester United team, with the kind of talent that they have up front, with the kind of formation that they're playing, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. What Scott McTominay is good at. Okay, let's go at what he's good at. Scott McTominay is good in a forward position, right? He's good in a forward position, and he's good in a back three position as the right the right center back. So in this kind of position, where we've seen this happen sometimes, where Fred and Fernandes would almost play as a double pivot, and McTominay would drop in to form a back three. Lindelof, Maguire, and McTominay. And this is because this offers more freedom to McTominay. Obviously, he has more time on the ball because the players then have to sit back because there's no one to press in that system. They don't want to overpress because obviously Ronaldo, Rashford, and Greenwood are pacey guys. They're going to counter them. They can put one ball up and, it's all over for Liverpool. So they're going to stay compact. They're not going to press as high as they usually will. And what will happen is McTominay then has a lot of time on the ball to look up, pick his pass, make good decisions. But in the kind of formation that they're playing right now, it's a bit difficult because I don't know, because McTominay makes really bad decisions positionally. He's always in the cover shadow of the striker or of the guy who's behind him, who's covering him. He's always in the cover shadow. And as a midfielder, as a double pivot midfielder, you want to be creating angles. You want to be creating angles constantly. That's what the best midfielders do. Jorginho does it. Rodri does it. Kante does it. Madison does it. Bernardo Silva does. They make smart decisions positionally, and constantly McTominay he puts himself in the cover shadow, and oftentimes is not able to receive the ball accurately or quickly enough, or even restricts the play, because then if Lindelof has the ball here, then he has to move to Maguire, and if Salah's here, and then Salah's going to press him, and then it just leads to a lot of problems if you're playing from the back with the back two, and so another place where McTominay is actually good is actually way high up the pitch. We saw that against Leeds last season, how well he was just ghosting into the box and blasting shots off, scoring I think 2 goals that game or 3 goals that game, not sure. But with the kind of talent that they Manchester United have up the field, with Greenwood, Rashford, Ronaldo, Fernandes, Sancho, Martial, Cavani, he's just not required there, and so his position is kind of in this weird space where he's either like in the cover shadow or not providing anything up front. So it's kind of like he's not providing anything, in throughout the game. He has his moments. Of course, he has his moments. He's a good player. But this position is not good for him in this team. Fernandes is a number 10 and isn't going to play as in the number 3 as like a third midfielder in a midfield 3. This is not going to happen. And so McTominay is not going to be able to move up as freely as he could in that kind of formation. And so it inhibits his true ability, his strengths actually as a football player. And that's why McFred is such a bad combination. That's why it's being criticized so much by fans every single game, and I think that's one of the reasons why we see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's stubbornness, is the rigidity. Obviously, the other things I've spoken about, the adaptation to different games, the tactical, the defensive structure. It's too much rigidity. It's just one or two styles of defending, and it's just torn apart. It's being torn apart by Villarreal, it's being torn apart by Aston Villa, it's being torn apart by Atalanta, it's being torn apart by Everton, it's being torn apart by so many different teams, man. And how long are United fans going to just take this? That's why it's bubbled up to such an extent, that they just want him out. They want it. Some fans want United to lose games so that this guy gets out, and it's just a bad situation right now. The club. Obviously, everyone has their own opinions. Gary Neville. I was listening to what he was saying yesterday, and I think Gary Neville speaks for himself. He does not speak for the United fans because United fans definitely don't feel that this what is going on right now is an improvement from anything that we've seen in the last 2 years. We've seen the same problems, or they've seen the same problems. Us rival fans have seen the same problems, and it's very very easy to consider United definitely. I won't say definitely out of the title race, but definitely out of. Definitely not definitely. Sorry, it's very easy to consider now that United are out of the title race. Maybe they're still in the race for the top four, but definitely not title contenders with the way they're performing. Unless they suddenly switch managers up, and which I don't think is going to happen. I just don't see it happening with the Glazers being in charge. They run like a business. Everybody knows that it's run like a business, and the only two managers I think who would come in are Conte and Zidane, both who are not this kind of soft-spoken guys that Oli. He's not soft-spoken, but he's very politically correct in a way. Conte, he's not gonna be that kind of guy. He's just not that guy. And Zidane, he's also not that kind of guy. We know how Zidane is, and for the Glazers, that could spell bad news because they might be ready to call them out on the bullshit, that we all know is kind of silently going on at United. And yeah, it's a sad situation, but I think everybody knows what the right decision is. It was a complete demolition yesterday, and it was not surprising. that was the worst part. It was not surprising to people who have seen and watched Manchester United over the last 9 games this season, and maybe in the last 2 seasons or so under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. No titles, no trophies, just progress, and well, that's the cost of downplaying expectations and trying to get away with it. It's just you can't do that at a club like Manchester United, and he's paying the price for it. The pressure is probably daunting right now, and no doubt it will be a sad situation for him to be sacked, but it is the only way that United can salvage something from the season and not completely embarrass the new signings and more than that, embarrass the fans and the club itself. With that being said, this is probably the end of today's video, but this is what I wanted to talk about. I wanted just to give my 2 cents as a Chelsea fan, because I've gone through a sacking of a club legend with Frank Lampard, and it was horrendous to go through it. It was actually depressing to go through it, to witness it, because I love the guy so much. And of course there are Man U fans as well in this fan base who probably love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for what he's contributed to this club, obviously winning them the treble that no one in England has ever done, and so there's definitely an attachment, but United are bigger than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, man, and that's what it comes down to. The club is always bigger, and I think it's up to the board to recognize that, and we shall see what happens.